We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I am so delighted to be with you here from lovely Central Florida. So lovely to be here with you all. And I feel very fortunate to be close to some of our, in physical proximity at least, to some of our Awakening Together membership here in Florida. I'm actually in Central Florida right now, which is close to where my mom lives. So yay for that. Um, so before we get to our announcements, I would like to share with you our statement of purpose. And this is our purpose as an Awakening Together assembly. We are an assembly of equals, joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. So today's message is based on our core value, number 3. We have 5 core values, and this particular message is centered on core value number 3, which is we accept one true self. Which is presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. So with that being said, that will be the focus of our message today. Practicing the letting go of the belief in the I, the me, and the mine. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments. But before we play our opening song, I would just invite you to join me in a prayer. We are now officially beginning the service part of our weekly gathering. So if you feel called, I invite you to join by closing your eyes and settling in right here. Bring all of your attention from the outward forms, thoughts. Notice what's happening right here, right now, in the body. In the environment. And notice that there's something that is totally aware of it all. This is where we are called to in this moment. This one self, this awareness, to keep our attention here, right now. We ask that we are guided to speak what is to be spoken and hear what is to be heard, that which is most helpful for each of us on our paths, on our connection to the truth of what we are, on the knowing of ourselves as the one self. And so it is. Amen. So today's gathering has been something that I've been contemplating for quite some time. If you had been following Regina during clarifying the teachings, you will remember that earlier this year, Regina spoke about attack and has a couple of episodes which are specifically titled, Is Attack Possible? And at the time that Regina was giving these talks, wasn't a whole lot of attack alive in this life. Not a whole lot of, at least that's what was believed at that point. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to really get in touch with what exactly happens when the belief in attack is alive. But over the past month, this belief has come up to be healed. How do I know it's come up? Because it's here and it keeps showing up. And just so very grateful to be able to see that the only purpose of seeing this now is to heal it. So with that being said, I want to say a little bit about the opening song before we play it. This song is called Anything You Want, and it is by Roy Orbison. And it fell in as the opening song, and as I listened to it, I could feel how true this is. When we have our full attention on what it is that we most want, what it is we most truly, truly desire, that spiritual aspiration is what we call it in this community. Michael Langford calls it, I want to say, desire for liberation. Maybe that's what he calls it. At least that's what words fall in at this moment. When we have full attention on that which we most truly desire, then that is what we are given. So I invite you to bring your spiritual aspiration to mind. An intense desire for liberation. Thank you, Regina. I invite you to bring your spiritual aspiration to mind as you listen to this song and let it just wash over you. Let it invite you to bring you fully and completely into your spiritual aspiration right now. I really love how it invites right in absolutely anything. Surrender completely. And life will bring us exactly what is required in this moment. So, we have a reading, which is actually excerpts from Regina's first teaching from Clarifying the Teachings on Is Attack Possible? It's called Is Attack Possible, Part 1. And according to my document, it says that the teaching happened on March 27th, 2022. I'm not 100% positive that that's accurate, but I can tell you the title definitely is Attack Possible, Part 1. And these are excerpts from that message. So not the entire transcript, but excerpts that felt appropriate based on my own contemplation of that message. And our dear Audrey will be reading for us. And before I hand the mic over to Audrey, I just want to invite you to make this as alive for you as you possibly can in this moment. If there's anything in your life at this moment that you are labeling as attack, that you are noticing you feel a little bit energized around about attack, I invite you to bring that in as you listen to the reading and allow yourself to hear what it is that you most need to hear as Audrey reads us this beautiful message. So that being said, I'm going to hand the mic over to Audrey.
Thank you, Reverend Rhoda. Sorry, I just lost my reading. I minimized it. It's here. I got it. Okay, so thank you. And I'll begin the reading, which, as Rhoda said, is excerpts from the transcript. Clarifying the teachings, is attack possible? Regina Dawn Akers. We are looking at a message that came in November of 2006 called, Is Attack Possible? And I asked you to listen to a teaching, which I called Mind-Blowing Truth, Part 1. That message came before the message we're looking at. They're kind of partner messages. But if you listen to Mind-Blowing Truth, Part 1, then you know that message is attempting to say what really can't be said with words. What it's saying is everything here, everything here is God. There's nothing else here. Scientists might even say that everything here is really mostly space, but again, even they agree. There's not really anything here. What that message was really describing, but was really pointing to the oneness that we are. You could say the one mind, the one consciousness, the oneness that we are. Because if there's nothing here, why do we all see a pen? Why don't I see a pen and someone else see a cup and someone else see a good-looking man? How could we all see the same thing? And the answer is our oneness. It's our oneness that looks at God and sees a pen. It's our oneness that looks mostly at mostly space and sees a phone. And if you take any time at all to really contemplate that, it is mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing that there's nothing here or that there's only God here. Whichever way you want to say it, the two are really the same. And yet we all see these different things and we see the same things at the same time. This is what the later message, the code, really talked about. At the same time, there's an individual interpretation of what we see. I could see a pen and someone else could see a pen, and I could think, this is a really nice pen because it's got this thing here for a grip. Oh, I love that grip, you know, and it's kind of thick and it's blue, and I love blue pens. And someone else could think, you know, that's just a cheap pen and I'd rather have a better pen. We both see a pen, but we can have individual interpretations of the pen. So in that way, our seeing is the same and our seeing is different. But the seeing that's different comes through the ego mind. As we awaken, the seeing becomes more and more the same until it's completely the same in that we're only seeing God. We're going to look at that message. We're going to look at the message that came right after the mind-blowing truth message. So keep it in mind. One of the reasons I brought this message is there's a war going on in the Ukraine, and some people are concerned about that. What I want to do is just briefly tell you the story about how this message, Is Attack Possible, came about. Some of you will be aware of this situation. For some of you, it may be new. In 2006, John Mundy kind of discovered Gary Renard and introduced Gary to the course community. After some time, John began to have doubts about Gary's experiences being real. And by real or not real, we mean within the fourth principle of God. Everything in the fourth principle of God is not real, but John was questioning whether Gary made up the experiences. John published a magazine along with a couple other teachers. In this magazine they published, they were basically saying that they thought Gary was a fake. This is basically what the magazine said. And then, of course, Gary got very upset, as well as anybody who supported Gary. John made the error of listening to judgments in his mind enough to publish the magazine, saying Gary's experiences may not be real. But once the magazine came out, John began to question his judgments, and he began to feel that he made an error. It didn't even matter whether Gary was a fake or not. It was John's error to listen to those ego thoughts. It was his error to follow those thoughts and publish that magazine. And he ended up posting something that wasn't exactly a retraction. John didn't really comment anymore on whether Gary was real or fake, but he explained that it was his mistake to follow those thoughts. That when those thoughts showed up in his mind, those were thoughts that should have been let go. But in that same magazine where John explained that this was his mistake, he also let Gary publish his own statement. It was a big deal in the course community. Everybody had an opinion. Everybody kept using this attack word. One side was either the attacker or the other side was the attacker. And I was reading all these posts. This interesting thing started to happen in my mind. Every time my eyes would land on the word attack, I would literally hear in my mind, no. It didn't matter who the post or thought was attacking. It was always no. Excuse me. And after some time of this, I decided to go within and ask Holy Spirit, I'm thinking about this no. Why is this no happening every time I see the word attack? So I went in and I asked Holy Spirit, is attack possible? Because I thought the no was trying to tell me that there's no such thing as attack. What I'll do is share what this message meant to me. When you are the receiver of inner wisdom, you understand the message more fully than the words seem to communicate. And so I will share what this message meant for me. So I asked, is attack possible? And of course, the answer was no. No, attack is not possible. The message says, because all thought is shared. This word thought here does not mean language in the brain. This thought could be more like desire. For example, most people in the world today, without even consciously thinking about it, choose the desire for separation. They desire separation by seeing themselves as a separate, independent person. By, again, without even thinking about it, wanting to be a separate, independent person. That's what people want. I want my way. I want to look good to others. I want to be loved. All these kinds of thoughts, which are very normal human thoughts. It is a constant expression of the desire for separation. This is the type of thought that is shared. You could call it intention or purpose. This is why I teach how important spiritual aspiration is. Spiritual aspiration is choosing another thought because you're choosing another desire. You're choosing another intention. But it doesn't help for that thought, desire, intention to be chosen just at an intellectual level. It has to be beyond the intellectual level. It has to be radiating through your way of being, through your way of living. Just like those who crave separation don't even know they're craving separation. They're just craving my way. They don't know they're craving separation, but they are. You know, you can say that you have a spiritual purpose, but still be craving separation. So you need to shift everything so that you're craving truth instead. I think the way Michael Langford describes that as an intense desire for liberation. So this becomes your way of being. What NTI teaches is all of the time, no matter what you are thinking, you're asking for. You're always only asking for one or the other. Those are the only two things you can actually ask for. Everything else kind of comes down to, I want the perception of separation or I want truth. There are no other wants here, no matter what it looks like. There are really only two thoughts that are echoing throughout humanity. So attack is not possible because all thought is shared. Each one receives as if he has asked to receive through his thought. Therefore, no one is ever attacked. Only his request is answered. Now, after explaining that, a question rose in my mind. If I can't attack anyone, then why are you asking me to let go of attack thoughts? When this message is talking about the ego, it is talking about the personal self. And what this is saying is, let's say I do attack one of you. Let's say I tear into one of you, say some things and attack you. This is saying that when I attack you, I'm not attacking you because I'm consciously aware of the fact that you want the experience of separation. You see, that's not something that ego consciously knows. The ego is not consciously at the personal self level playing this game. This is happening more at the spirit level, not Holy Spirit. It's the wrong mind of spirit. A good way to put it, if you want to put it in coarse terms, is it's happening at the dreamer level, the dreamer of the dream. It's happening at the dreamer level, and the characters in the dream aren't consciously doing it, even though they're following suit. One example that Spirit used to use with me was the example of a child playing with dolls. The child is the one that decides the dolls are going to attack each other, not the dolls. So the child is the dreamer of the dream, or the one mind of spirit on the wrong-minded side. Again, looking at the message when I said, well, if I'm not attacking in my mind, why do I let go of my attack thoughts? The answer is because if you believe attack thoughts, you're not going to see what's really going on here. You're not going to see it's really just all God, that God is all that's here. So the message says, I asked you to let go of attack thoughts, not because they are attack, but because they block true perception from your sight. As you believe and attack, you cannot see love because you believe love is attack. Love is not attack. Here is what love is. Are you ready for this definition? Love is giving through spirit to spirit that which spirit requests. That's love. Love is giving through spirit to spirit that which spirit requests. So those who still desire the experience of separation, even though they don't know they're doing it consciously, they're just desiring things like wanting their son to love them, which seems perfectly normal. But those who are still desiring separation are being given the experience of separation. That's love. And it won't be taken away from them before they're ready to have it taken away, before they change their purpose, their intention in a very real way. not just in a I say way, where they're changing their entire beingness to be aligned with it. The same thing is true if it's the game of awakening. Now, the one that has chosen to awaken, that one is conscious of it. But those who are coming and saying the right things, bringing up the right situations, all the things that are happening, they're not saying, hey, I'm here to wake you up. And I know that you still have this thought that needs to be pushed up. So I'm going to push it up for you. They're just unconsciously doing all that you need to help you wake up. They're not doing that consciously either. People are just doing what they're doing, what their thoughts are telling them to do. But whether you're receiving the experience of separation or whether you're receiving everything that you need to awaken, that's dependent on your desire, on what you're really committed to within yourself. The message says, love cannot stop. That's all that's going on here. It can't stop. Everybody's given everybody exactly what they want. That's the only thing that can happen. Love cannot stop, but love can be misperceived if you believe in attack. To see love's reflection through true perception, you must be willing to let go of all perception of attack. When I choose to perceive attack, I'm choosing the experience of separation. I can't see God then. I'm choosing against God. So I must be willing to let go of the not God, which includes attack, in order to see only God. So the message says, remember this, when you believe you are attacking, for me, that would be harder. The harder part, when I believe I'm the one attacking. I must realize I'm wrong. I didn't just attack, not in a denial way. What this wants me to do is it wants me to look at myself, not lie to myself. Let's assume for a moment that I said something mean and nasty to two people in the room, and then I see it. Maybe part of why I see it is I see your mouths drop wide open, and you help me to see it, but I see it. Now, what I want to do is look at it. Probably the next thing I'm going to feel is guilt or embarrassment or something. But I'm going to look at that and I'm going to trust that this came to me and through me because this is the game that Spirit is playing now. And because I was unconscious for a moment, I got caught up in an unconscious game for a moment. Because sharing the game of separation is an unconscious game. What I'm going to do is choose to be more conscious because awakening is a game of consciousness and awareness. You see the difference between using that spiritual teaching to say, well, I couldn't do anything else, they must want separation. That's why I said that to them. That's bullshit. It's not about them and what they want. It's about me. It's always about me. If I became unconscious for a moment and played the unconscious game of separation, then I needed to become conscious again. I still need to take responsibility by letting go of my guilt, believe it or not, even if I apologize to them, because holding on to guilt is still ego. The way that I'm responsible is by letting go of my guilt through trusting. I wasn't really attacking anyone, but I did fall into an unconscious game. And I don't have to be unconscious. I can choose consciousness. And I have got to forgive myself. I have to understand what happened, and I have got to learn from it. It's also very, very human to learn from our mistakes. I don't think anybody ever does this perfect. Some mistakes are our greatest teachers. So when you believe you're attacking or have attacked, you are completely wrong. but this is not an excuse for denial. Give this misperception to me that you may see differently. Very consciously, you're going to realize that you fell unconscious. You're going to give this to spirit or whatever you give it to. You're going to ask to see it differently. When you believe you are attacked, you're 100% wrong. What this is saying, if you can't believe in attack, rejection, betrayal, abandonment, loneliness, unworthiness, guilt, blame, fear, jealousy, and see God too. You are either playing the game of separation or you are not. It appears we're only talking about attack here. We aren't only talking about attack here. We are talking about all those separation-based beliefs.
Thank you, Audrey. What a lively and beautiful reading. Thank you so much. Thank you for holding up the pen too. How fun. So it feels helpful to just start with a little bit of a personal example. So when this message was shared by Regina last year, there was clearly a belief here that none of that was actually true. That I didn't have attack thoughts, that, oh, the war in Ukraine, well, that's over there. There was all this positionality that was happening. Not really part of my life. Not really part of what's happening here. And so between the first clarifying the teachings, is attack possible, and the second, is attack possible, Regina had actually invited us to contemplate that question. And I did. I sat down and I contemplated it. And at the time, I got this beautiful message that said, Regina just wrote, Michael Langford says that doesn't apply to me, in quotes, as an ego preservation strategy. Yes, it was clearly an ego preservation strategy. And so when I sat down at that time to contemplate, is attack possible, I got some really beautiful, far-reaching concepts about how the word attack is viewed, but this positionality, I'm going to keep calling it, never really got addressed. There was no real clarity that what this really was a continued desire for separation. And it wasn't being called attack. It was being called, oh, that doesn't apply to me. So there is a thought that comes before attack is what I'm starting to notice now. So fast forward, here we are, let's just say about a month ago. Several events happen in life that ego is absolutely interpreting as attack. My partner is hopping from job to job. And I started noticing, I kept feeling this sense of being threatened. I don't want to say it was the word attack that came in, but I kept noticing this sense of being threatened. Somehow I am not safe anymore. My youngest son is a boxer, and he had a particular match where he actually knocked out the other boxer. And I could feel all of this belief that, thank God it wasn't my son. Thank God it wasn't And then all of this grief for this other individual who gets knocked out. And I could feel all of this contracting, contracting, contracting. And all of it kept coming back to this sense of positionality. I am here. I must be this body. He must be that body. There's a me, there's a my, and it relates to me now, right? It's not the war. I'm not in the war, but I'm seeing attack. I'm seeing attack. Some other things start happening in the world, all bringing up this idea that attack is possible. And my current spiritual aspiration is to lovingly, comma, which is a pause, surrender. And as I surrendered into that, I was guided back to this message. And what I could see in that moment, as I started to listen, at first I listened to Regina teach the message again. And I listened to her teach it several times. And I did some contemplation on my own. And what I could see alive and well was the ego preservation strategy that Regina just pointed to, which was that doesn't apply to me. Every time there is this sense of me separate from everything else, attack becomes a real and viable belief, a real and viable option. And what I immediately noticed was, so came onto the spiritual path from the self-help path, wanted to end suffering, please God, end the suffering. So I had spent many, 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 many years doing the work with Byron Katie, which means I have looked at thoughts, looked at thoughts, looked at thoughts, looked at thoughts, looked at thoughts. Never once during that period of time was I clear that the thoughts weren't mine. So taking personal responsibility kept getting interpreted as I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. And so this time, sitting with it, I could feel the same movement of thought. I could see the same movement of belief happening. Attention would go to, okay, take personal responsibility. Yep, I'm believing attack. I'm seeing attack. And attack is here. What I wasn't hearing, which was definitely happening, was, and you must have done it. You must have done it. Because attack wouldn't be here if you didn't believe it. So there it is again. The self-referencing, the self-referential positionality that says there is a me separate from everyone, and I just keep doing it wrong. Oh. So what I missed was this. I would see the guilt. I wouldn't hear that I keep doing it wrong. I would feel the guilt and I wouldn't hear the you did it again. Again, Rhoda, again. I wasn't hearing that. I would feel the guilt, and there just would be a wash of shame. Gosh. Okay. So, put on my big girl britches. I got this. I can do better. I can pretend now. Watch me. I can pretend that I'm not being attacked. Literally no help whatsoever. Fortunately, someone listened to my talk and said, so what happened? Was you missed a step? And it was literally like the clouds were lifted. Guilt is a symptom of judgment. Shame is a symptom of judgment. So guilt is actually a gift. It's a gift pointing to the belief in separation manifesting as judgment. I did it wrong again. So what I wasn't seeing, which I am just so grateful to be aware of right now, is taking accountability without reinvigorating the ego thought system means slowing it down even further than slowing down has been happening. It means bringing it all back to truth. It means noticing everything that is unlike love and trusting that that is not to be trusted. That is not what I need to follow. So now guilt rise, and what I can feel is, thank you. I see the guilt. There is a judgment here. There is a judgment that this belief in attack, which is now basically echoing through consciousness, because as Dr. David Hawkins has pointed out, if we put attention on a thought, apparently for long enough, that becomes part of the experience. And Regina has taught us many times that the loop of experience is exactly what's happening. I put attention on a thought, I feel the experience of that thought, I have this loop that keeps happening because the thought just keeps reinforcing itself, and that's what's manifest. So just like the pen, so many of us can look and say, yep, pen, that's a pen. We can also look and say, yes, it appears people are attacking. It appears that way. It's the judgment of that appearance that so just kind of undermines the sense that what is happening is okay and reinvigorates it through believing attention. She said specifically in this message that when John Mundy wrote his retraction, his retraction, actually what he was just doing was explaining what his mistake was. And he said that his mistake was to follow those thoughts. That when those thoughts showed up in his mind, those were thoughts that should have been let go. And what I hear when I hear that is that no judgment is true. No judgment whatsoever is true. While some judgments can be right-minded and be a great bridge to get us where we're going, ultimately, no judgment is actually true, ultimately. And and in the end, as Regina said, I need to take responsibility by letting go of the guilt. Attack shows up. There is a positionality that happened before the attack happened, because there's a belief that I am separate. There's an I, there's a me, there's a my. It is the original thought. If you've ever been around babies, children, you'll notice that we teach the thought of separation from the very beginning. My toes, your toes. Oh, look, you discovered your feet. My body, your body. I'm mommy, you're fill in the blank. So we teach the thought of separation from the beginning. So it is natural. It is only human to believe it. And yet, I only need to take responsibility that I see the judgment, and if I feel the guilt, to know that there must be a judgment here I'm not seeing. And that is my get out of jail free card. That is, I can see the guilt, but I can let go of the guilt, because the guilt is only a symptom that I must believing something that isn't true. There is some thought of separation here. As Regina said, and I'll say it in my own words, was I wasn't really being attacked, but I did fall into the unconscious game. And I don't have to be unconscious anymore. I don't have to believe this I, me, my thought anymore. And it feels complete. So just as a way of closing, I'd like to ask Sina to play our final song, which is entitled I, Me, My by the Beatles. I was first introduced to this song in Gentle Healing for some MPP course. I'm not sure where, but I want to say it was Gentle Healing. Never heard this song before, but so fabulous in terms of just reminding us to look for the I, me, mine, and to trust that that just isn't true. Gosh, I love that song. Just a reminder to let you know that we are a church, and as a church, we are supported by the donations of those who find that they benefit in any way from what is shared here at Awakening Together. So if you feel called to donate, Sina has already placed a link in the chat, and the QR code is available on screen on gallery mode. You can take a picture that'll take you directly to our donation link as well. So if you check in for inner guidance and you feel called to donate, we invite you to do so. I, me, mine. So now there is time, actually. There is time to share. If anyone feels called to share, contemplate, teach themselves anything out loud, I'd like to invite you to take the mic at this point. And Sina, I can't see hands. I'm totally blind here on this phone.
I don't see any hands up. Audrey has her hand up.
Audrey, please take the mic. Thank you, Sina.
Hi, thank you. I just want to thank you, Rhoda, for inviting me to do a reading. The last time I was invited to do a reading, I did not show up. And I went through some attack, of course, guilt. I had completely forgotten about it. And I think that was sort of the time that I started to pull away from Awakening Together, because I just felt so bad about it. And I just, I'm so grateful you asked me, because it's not true. It just is not true. Any of those thoughts I thought about myself. And what happened was so beautiful. I'm just thinking the thoughts and seeing how they happen. I mean, for an example, is as a child in Uranium City, Saskatchewan in Canada, we had, I think, 2 TV channels. And I used to watch this show called The Littlest Hobo. And it was about a dog. He's a German Shepherd. Landon, this dog's name. And he would go from place to place. It's a beautiful song too. I'd like to play it sometime. I think I will. And it just, I think watching that show and just having it in my mind, that just became my mantra, the littlest hobo. I'm here for a little bit and I leave. And I all of a sudden I could see so clearly how I've done that in all ways and all my jobs and anything I do. It's like, I'm not a lifer. That's like a belief. And it isn't true either. It was just a song that was in my head. I could be a part of any community. I am an Awakening Together member. I am part of this community. And I just wanted to thank you because that's the whole little circle that happened for me with this. And I just appreciate you all so much. So thank you for all being my reflection, and I love you.
Love you. Thank you. Thank you. So glad that you're here with us, Audrey. So glad. Thank you for that beautiful demonstration. We have a little bit more time if there's anyone else who feels called to share right now.
I'll share just how potent and taking in, when the most hurtful it feels like is when I feel like I might have attacked or done something that caused another to feel less than. And that is still just a huge unwind to know that we're innocent there. So thank you. It also opens the heart, and how guilt is, that signal to look. It's a gold experience to go deeper and find what's really there. So, thank you, Rhoda.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Sina, if no one else has a hand up, I would love to play our last song. I just want to give a quick 10-second preamble. The name of this song is Crazy, and it's by Gnarls Barkley. And unfortunately, I didn't share the one with Sina that actually has the words on it, but if you ever get the chance to watch the lyrics, so good. Talks about losing his mind, and maybe I'm crazy, and it just feels like, yes, thank you. Happy to be crazy and lose my mind. Thank you very much. So Gnarls Barkley, Crazy.
Been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.